weekend of preseason football in the NFL, which means we are one step closer to kicking things off for real in 2024. Still plenty to do before then, though, including those roster cuts that are looming. And when it comes to the AFC West, all the rosters are trying to compete with the reigning champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. They not only won the Super Bowl twice in a row, but they've run the division for 8 straight. So we're going to play a game, and to do so, we're bringing in our big star. We've got draft expert and NFL analyst Ryan Wilson joining us. Now, Ryan, you've studied these guys from their time in college all the way up to now where they're at in the NFL. So we're going to play a little game of keep 'em or cut 'em. You're going to give us 2 players from each team in the division, one that you think is a star, they have to make the roster no matter what, and a player that might be packing his bags come post-cut later this week. So let's start with the champs. Of course, Patrick Mahomes said last year wasn't fun for him. It was tough going there on the offense. So who's a player you think that can make it more fun, and who's a player who you think might be saying so long to the Chiefs?
I don't think Patrick Mahomes is in danger of getting cut, so I won't have to mention his name. But here's a star that is not going to get cut because he was a first-round pick, but has a chance to take this offense to the next level, which is a wild thing to say about Kansas City. And that's their first-round pick, Xavier Worthy. You remember, Haley, the Chiefs traded up, and the Bills traded down to allow Kansas City to get Xavier Worthy. He holds the 40 time now at the Combine because he ran that 4.26, I believe it was, out of Texas. He's going to add another layer of explosiveness to his offense, especially since Hollywood Brown, who they got in the offseason, is banged up with a shoulder injury. He could miss some time to start the season. Same with Rasheed Rice. He may miss some time because of some off-field stuff. So who's left? Well, Travis Kelce's left, of course, but also what you have in this burner in Xavier Worthy, who did this every Saturday for the Longhorns and Quinn Ewers. I suspect we're going to see him doing a lot on Sundays as well. And you see this list here of Chiefs players that they traded to get. Trent McDuffie is one of the best slot corners in the NFL. We know what Patrick Mahomes, a Hall of Famer now, if he were to retire tomorrow. Now, a guy who is in danger of getting cut, former first-round pick Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver drafted originally by the Giants. He has had a terrible go of it since he arrived in Kansas City. Had the issues last year. He didn't play in the Super Bowl or in that playoff run because of miscues. He's had some miscues during the preseason. They've tried him at running back, and I think when it's all said and done, Haley, he might be on the outside looking in when those final cuts come down. Yeah,
just looking at his game from that preseason, of course, he had those 2 penalties that you can't get, the pre-snap penalties there and the holding penalty as well. It looks like he caught just 1 pass for -4 yards. So obviously this is going to be a big week for him. Let's talk about the Chargers. Of course, they've got new head coach Jim Harbaugh trying to lead them back to glory. Who's going to be your star, and who are you cutting out in LA?
All right, you mentioned that I do the draft in my spare time, dabble in that a little bit. I'm going to go to last year's first-round pick for the Chargers, Quentin Johnston. That was the previous regime, Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley, the coach and the GM, who brought in Quentin Johnston. But he is tall, 6'4". He can run, and he can make contested catches all day long. The issue is, Haley, we rarely saw that last year. He struggled with learning the offense. He struggled with getting on the field, and he was just playing slow. And a lot of times we see, especially with young wide receivers, it takes them a year to get up to speed with the playbook, not the speed of the game. He has all the physical tools. I think he has a chance to come out this year and be really special, especially now. Once Justin Herbert gets healthy, will certainly help. Especially now, there'll be more balance in the run pass. So he won't be relied upon as much as perhaps last year. He'll have an opportunity to win balls down the field, and I think he's going to thrive in this offense in year 2. As for a guy who's in danger of getting cut and in real danger here, Alex Leatherwood. And that name may sound familiar, Haley, because he was the tackle drafted out of Alabama back in 2021 by the Raiders, 17th overall pick. He went 6 picks before Christian Darrisaw, who just got a big money deal as the left tackle for the Vikings. He washed out with the Raiders. He's bounced around. He has an opportunity to win a backup job here as a guard. I'm not sure if he's going to do it. And a once promising career, he could be looking for work in a few weeks unless he turns it on here down the stretch.
All right. Speaking of the Raiders, we're going to the Raiders next. They have their starting quarterback in Gardner Minshew, so we know that he's not on your cut list, but someone's got to go here. So give us your star and the guy who's getting cut.
All right, good news first here. A year ago, they drafted Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame in round 2. So they wouldn't draft a tight end this year in the first round, would they, Haley, with the 13th overall? But yes, they would. They took Brock Bowers, and Brock Bowers is every bit worth that 13th overall pick, even though he does play a position that perhaps you get more value in rounds 2 or 3. He's flashed in the preseason. We saw what he did last year for Georgia, came back from the injury and just dominated. The Auburn game sticks out in particular, and he's going to be a huge part in any success this offense has, because we know Gardner Minshew is currently the starting quarterback. We'll see how long that lasts if Aiden O'Connell gets his shot. But Brock Bowers is going to have a lot to do with that success, and he also is going to make life easier for Devontae Adams, who we've known has been frustrated at times with the lack of production at the quarterback position for the Raiders since he arrived there from Green Bay. Now, a guy in danger of getting cut, defensive tackle Byron Young. He was a third-round pick a year ago, just back in 2023, out of Alabama. He barely played last year. He was inactive for 10 or 11 games, I believe. Only had 4 tackles throughout the season. They have a ton of depth at the defensive tackle position, so he's going to have to make some moves here in the next week or two to guarantee a roster spot, because he may go from third-round pick a year ago to a free agent in a few short days here.
Okay, Ryan, so the Roll Tide faithful isn't going to like your last 2 answers as far as who's getting cut. You just gave me 2 former Bama players on your cut list, so let's try to make the other side of the state happy in this one and talk Auburn Tigers. You got 2 former Auburn Tigers competing for the starting job in Denver. You can only pick one, though, here. So Bo Nix or Jarrett Stidham, who are you keeping and who are you cutting?
Spoken like someone who worked in the Alabama market. You know exactly what's up, Haley. Went from Tuscaloosa to Auburn. That's right. So Bo Nix is clearly the star here. He's coming off this fantastic preseason Week 2 performance, 8 of 9 for 80 yards. We talked about him on With the First Pick. Me and Rick Spielman did. He ranked 2 among our rookie quarterback performances after only Caleb Williams. There's a lot to like. Sean Payton has not said enough positive things about this young man, as positive as Sean Payton can be when trying to keep things under wrap and manage expectations. But he feels like he's going to be the day 1 starter. He was the 6th quarterback drafted in the first round back in April. That, of course, was a record. And then on the other side, unfair or not, Jarrett Stidham feels like he might be getting the short end of the stick, Haley. He's the only player with any experience playing under Sean Payton in this system in Denver. Started some games last year. Was QB1, quotation marks, coming into the season. But Bo Nix has done a fantastic job. And it may be a situation where they keep Zach Wilson, the former first-rounder from the Jets, as the number 2, even though Jarrett Stidham has held his own. And if Jarrett Stidham does end up getting released, I don't imagine he'll be out of work long. He's a veteran. He can come in and be a backup for you. But right now, this feels like Bo Nix's team, Haley. And the only question is, do they keep Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham as the number 2?
From orphan puppy to starting quarterback in Denver. Ryan Wilson being the bad guy, so I don't have to be. Ryan, thanks so much for hopping on, telling us your keepers and your cuts. Taking a look at how the AFC West will shake out Week 1. Here is the schedule. Of course, everyone looking forward to that Ravens at Chiefs game, the rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. That will open the NFL season. Then the Broncos on September 8th, the game you can watch on CBS, will be facing the Seahawks as a 4.5-point underdog. And then you get a little 2-for-1 there in that final game. Raiders at Chargers, also on CBS. That one kicking off at 4 o'clock Eastern.